All right, so November 22nd, big Riyadh season card, which is going to be headlined by David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. There's a lot of fights on this card. I mean, Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes for the vacant WBO lightweight title. Artur Beterbiev is going to be featured on there as well. The fight I'm going to talk about today, and the one I'm really intrigued about, is former lightweight, former junior welterweight champion Devin Haney against current WBO welterweight champion Brian Norman Jr. And when I was looking at where this fight is going to be taking place, as far as the order, it looks like this is going to be, if the order is correct per ESPN, this is one of the earlier fights, which I really think should be put up a little higher, but I digress. But this, for me at least, is one of the more interesting fights because there's storylines here, and really a lot of this is pointing the finger at Devin Haney as it concerns just, has he gotten over the Ryan Garcia fight? Okay, and he has fought since then. He was featured on the May card that took place over in Times Square, and he fought Jose Ramirez to a not so responsive from the public performance, as the people were calling it boring and he was running. I personally think he just did enough to get the win, but it wasn't a win that, at least for me, I felt answered questions as a concern if he has gotten over the Ryan Garcia fight, which initially he lost. Then obviously we know what happened with Ryan getting popped, and it was turned into a no contest. So that blemish technically has been removed from Devin Haney's, from his his record, resume, however you want to put it. But into the Jose Ramirez fight, we were wanting, I guess, questions answered if he's mentally got over that. And a lot of us still, we don't know. He clearly won. It's not to say like that this was like a back and forth kind of affair, but it really left the door open for a lot of us to still kind of ask the question, like, have you gotten over that fight with, or how that fight culminated with Ryan Garcia? So with Brian Norman Jr., he is the WBO welterweight champion. And again, it's nothing against him, right? But on the surface, he is probably the more dangerous welterweight right now that's there of the young crop of guys. And he is coming off that knockout over Jin Sasaki, that took place in Japan. Now, again, we have to consider Jin Sasaki is not a world elite level guy, but it's obviously an eyebrow raiser when anybody gets that kind of knockout. And now going into a fight with a Devin Haney, who is yet again moving up in weight, is a former lightweight champion who we all, I think, can agree was like destroying himself to make lightweight. In his first fight at 140 pounds, he beats the then WBC champion in Regis Prograis and became a two-division champion. So there's a lot riding on here for Devin Haney, going up yet another division to win a third division world title against a young yet inexperienced fighter in relation to the guys that he has fought up to this point. This is clearly the best opposition Brian Norman Jr. at this stage would have faced. We have seen Devin Haney in there with the Lomachenkos of the world. He did go over to Australia twice to beat George Kambosos, who, again, some people are subjective as far as what level he was at. But then, he goes ahead and he beats Regis Prograis going up to 140 pounds. And, you really can't... and again, he fights Ryan Garcia and how that culminated, but he has been somebody that has called out the Shakur Stevensons. He's called out the Gervonta Davises. And it doesn't seem on the surface like he's trying to, not take part in these fights. I mean, again, to the point, he's going up to fight one of the more dangerous and relatively unknown welterweights in the division, who just happens to be one of the champions. because he could have gone and fought a Mario Barrios, who, is coming off a fight with Manny Pacquiao. And we saw Boots and Stanios' fight. Boots is now up at 154. There was talks about him and Boots fighting. The negotiations or these, supposed talks, I guess, never materialize, or talks about they're trying to be a catchweight at 154. I don't know. Hey. But at the very least, he's going in his first fight legitimately at welterweight to fight one of the world champions who's on a 3-fight knockout streak. And look, like I said, Brian Norman Jr., it's not like he has fought elite level talent. This is going to be his toughest challenge to date, stylistically, because Devin Haney on his A game, man, he's a difficult guy to fight, and people still argue about that Lomachenko fight, but that wasn't a fight that I would call a robbery. Even if you thought Lomachenko won, that was a difficult fight to judge. And if you had Lomachenko winning, I wouldn't argue. If you had Devin Haney winning, I wouldn't argue that either. But I think when we talk about the bright lights and the experience, it really does side with Devin Haney in this equation. The question really comes down to whether or not, if and when, some would say, Brian Norman lands some of these stunning shots, if Devin Haney is going to be receptive from it, or is he going to get taken back to the Ryan Garcia fight? In a fight that, to be quite honest, I felt he took the wrong approach. I felt he should have boxed a little more. I think he engaged a little too much. Again, you don't hook with a hooker, and he was trying to do some of those things, and he got caught. Listen, Devin Haney is not a Shakur Stevenson who is just when we talk about defense and counterpunching and measuring distance, Shakur, I believe, is just on another level. But Devin Haney, I still feel, is a very good boxer and leaps and bounds a better boxer than Brian Norman Jr. has ever faced. So, again, there's intangibles with this fight, man. And to be honest with you, this is another one of these fights, man, I can't pick. I can see Devin Haney getting sparked out, and I can see Brian Norman Jr. getting outboxed for 12 rounds. It's that good of a fight, and it's why I feel like this should be kind of moved up on the card. Again, it's a star-studded affair, but I think this, arguably, I would put this as a co-main event next to Benavidez and Yarde, but, who am I? So that will be taking place November 22nd. Like, as I'm making this video, I really don't have a winner in this fight, man. I really think this is a 50-50 fight. I think that there's a lot riding for both guys. But I do feel the bigger question marks do side with Devin Haney, obviously because of his history. So let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe. Let me know who you got winning November 22nd. Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr. for the WBO Welterweight Championship. And I'll be talking about the other fights coming up. But this one was the one I'm really looking forward to the most. So I wanted to just make that quick video first. So let me know who you got winning.